All right, what is up? Happy Tuesday, January 14th. I'm a little bit winded right now. Had a tough workout. Legs killed me just now. Like, literally killed me. I was out of breath after doing like the first set of legs. Then I had two more weights. But wanted to do this vlog. It's like 6:30 a.m. right now. Wanted to get it in. I'm trying to make a habit of like doing these semi-daily vlogs. Daily vlogs are a bit much. It's difficult to shoot the vlog. It's difficult to transfer the footage. It's difficult to edit it. It's difficult to be creative when you're trying to edit it and make it look fresh and new without it being too stale and too consistent. But my goal is to commit to like at least one a week. I think that's doable. So hopefully you can hear me okay. I'm using my phone. If you can't tell, I usually have a mic and I left my mic in my room and I'm too lazy to go upstairs, get the mic, come back down, set the equipment. So this will do. But what do I want to talk about today? So it's Tuesday, it's the middle of January, and I think if you saw my last vlog, I talked about how most people nowadays aren't even going to try to succeed. Most people aren't going to bother to go to the gym. By the way, I went to the gym this morning at like 5:30ish. No one was there again. Now, I kind of mentioned this in the last video. It could just be that people go to the gym late. It could be that people just don't bother with memberships. I couldn't tell you exactly what it is, obviously, because I don't know everyone. But my guess is that most people just gave up. Most people are just not going to, commit themselves to any success, whether that's fitness, whether that's financially, whether that's in relationships. I heard that a lot of people nowadays are single. Like most people nowadays are single. Most people, at least in our age group, like the 20s and 30-year-olds, are single, not because they want to be, but because they've just resigned themselves to actually putting forth a good effort to find a good partner, to find a good relationship. They've given up. They don't believe the juice is worth the squeeze, so to speak. Same with finances. I saw a few studies that were saying how a lot of people just go into massive debt. And of course, people go into debt because of things like college and because you live in maybe a city where commuting is necessary and you don't have a car, so that prompts you to get a car. I've heard some people say like, "Oh, just save up for a used car." It's like obviously if you have a job and your job starts Monday and you don't have a car today, you're not going to save up like $2,000 for a used car. So you need to get a loan to get the used car. Obviously, people don't really consider that, but I totally get how that is. But it can't be helped. What I'm saying is that some people take out loans to do like vacations or just fun activities, or they go into massive debt just trying to impress other people so they can pretend like they're living a high quality lifestyle when in reality they can only afford really a very low quality lifestyle, which is fine. I'm not like shitting on that. But to me, it's a mentality of resigning yourself from the bigger picture or for the long-term goal, for financial success, for financial freedom, whatever that may mean. It's interesting. Now, I'm doing this vlog. I don't really have a particular place I want to go. I was kind of thinking this morning like what I was going to talk about. One thing, kind of two things, but a main thing that came to mind that I wanted to bring up in this vlog was sort of the idea of saying I can't and how your beliefs shape you. Now, a lot of times when I introduce to people that they should have a goal, for example, when Productivity Accelerator, kind of a shameless plug, this is my training service for people who are young, busy professionals that want to get more stuff done in less time. One of the things I express to people is you should drop your idea of I can't. And if you have a goal that you want to achieve, you got to find a way to make that goal happen. You got to prioritize stuff. You can't do everything at once. And that's something I see a lot of people try to do. They try to do a lot of stuff at once. They're like, oh, I want to make a lot of money in my job. Oh, I want to do like 10 different hobbies. Oh, I want to socialize a lot. Oh, I want to go out every Friday and Saturday and Sunday and drink. Cool. You can do all of those things, but you probably can't do all of those things at the exact same time. You got to drop at least one of those things, or maybe two of those things, or maybe five of those things, depending on what you have on your plate. And people don't want to do that. And the issue with that is if you aren't willing to drop anything, then you're not willing to get anything. Does that make sense? Like this morning, I woke up early at like 5:30. I went to the gym. I prioritized getting in shape over sleep. Some people are going to be like, I like to sleep. I like to be cozy in bed. Cool, that's fine. You're not going to get in shape. And then when you're in your 30s and 40s and 50s and you're fat and you're out of shape and you're breathing heavy all the time, just going up a flight of stairs, and maybe you're single and you can't find a partner because you don't look attractive because you're not in shape, you only have yourself to blame, because there are other people who in their 20s and 30s and 40s did wake up and they sacrificed a little bit of sleep for the long-term gain of being in shape. And that's just one example, but you can apply this to like everything in life. I've seen people who say they want to start a business, and some clients of mine, and they're like, yeah, I want to start a business, but I have this morning routine. I like to meditate. I like to do all this stuff. I like to draw in the morning. I like to do like barefoot grounding. It's like, cool, you can do that, but give up the dreams of the business. You got to pick. Do you want to do barefoot grounding? Do you want to meditate in the morning? Or do you want to make some money in your business and eventually maybe get that long-term dream of financial freedom, or whatever your goal is with that business? You got to pick. You got to prioritize one over the other. You can probably do both in time. Like once you get the business up and going, once you get the income flowing, once you get more time to yourself, sure, then you can do your meditation, your barefoot grounding, all that stuff. But you can't do it now. And that's the point that I want to make in this video. Now, I will say this, and this is a little bit of a flex in my opinion, but I'm saying this with good intent. I, at my current age, and I'd say this to myself a lot too, when I make excuses for myself, I try to repeat this to myself. Excuses are garbage for the most part. There are some people who have like really good excuses. Like if you're someone from like a country where economic advancement is virtually impossible and you say, I can't do something because my country doesn't allow it, that's acceptable. That's fine, because you can't control those circumstances. You didn't pick those circumstances. You were born into it, and there's not much you can do besides maybe change your perception of the situation. That's about it. But for most people, if you're listening to what I'm saying, you probably live in a country like America. Maybe you live in a country like the UK, someplace where economic advancement is really possible, someplace where having a good quality of life is possible. And so when people make these excuses, it kind of bothers me, especially like when it comes to fitness and stuff like that. I hate that, because if you've ever listened to my content, I always talk about this idea of eudaimonia, the fulfilled life. And I've been on different podcasts before, and people say, like, if you try to achieve eudaimonia, in your opinion, where should people start? And so what I say is, if you don't know where to start, like if you're not already on a certain path, start with health. And I say start with health because it's the easiest of the three to achieve in the shortest amount of time, relatively speaking, with the least amount of you don't need much to do it. Does that make sense? Like if you want to get in better shape, you don't need to go to the gym. You don't need money. You don't need special gym equipment. You don't need lots of special food. You just need a little bit of money to buy very basic food. Tuna, rice, bread, eggs, very cheap stuff. You can buy a lot of this stuff on a budget. And I know this because I was someone who made $10,000 a year and managed to afford these things and still go to the gym. So you can buy these things on a budget. I know inflation's kind of getting out of hand. You could still buy these things on a budget. Tuna's like 50 cents a can, 70 cents a can, $1 a can. You could live off tuna. You can live off bread. You can live off brown rice. Trust me, I've done it. It's not the tastiest stuff. It's not the most fulfilling stuff. It's not the most pleasant stuff. And it's going to be hard when you see your friends out there going to like gourmet restaurants or, bragging on social media about what places they vacationed and they got these nice like spreads that they're taking photos of. It's difficult to compare yourself to those people, but in the long term, you're better off going through that grind. So it kind of frustrates me when people say they can't do something, they make excuses, because literally this morning I was thinking about it. I was going outside and it was a little bit cold. And I'll put like some B-roll in this video, but as I'm going to the gym, which is across the street, it's not very far, there's like ice and snow everywhere. It's literally like a 20-second walk to get from the building I live in to the building across the street. It's not even across the street, it's literally like the same building, it's attached, but the easiest way to get to the other gym is just to go outside and just like cut through, because it's on the first floor. When I was in college, when I was like 20, 21-ish, I was out of shape. And the thing I wanted to do so much, and this is me starting with the pillar of health inadvertently. Like I knew about eudaimonia, I knew about health, wealth, relationships, but I didn't know anyone who had money. So I didn't know how to start with money. At the time, I didn't really know what entrepreneurship was. So the idea of starting a business, like people nowadays, you go on YouTube, everyone's talking about starting a business, starting a side hustle. When I was like 20, 21, I literally did not know what the word entrepreneurship meant. I remember I was just doing stuff and some people were like, you're an entrepreneur. And I was like, what the hell is an entrepreneur? And I literally like looked it up and I was like, oh, that's an entrepreneur? Okay, I guess maybe I am an entrepreneur. I didn't know what it was. I wasn't trying to be an entrepreneur. I was just doing me. I was doing what I thought was necessary to get ahead. Relationships. I remember when I tried to like talk to girls, no other guys around me wanted to do it. So I did a lot of it by myself. It was tough. But the thing I did first, because it was the thing that to me was the most accessible, was exercise. Because it's easier for me to get to the gym and just work out. It's hard to go approach a girl. It's hard to not get rejected because you getting rejected is based on how she perceives you. You going to the gym is solely up to you. You don't have to worry about anyone else going to the gym besides your efforts. And so I remember I'd wake up at like 5, and this is back when I was at Penn State. I lived on this place. I remember I lived at like Allen Street was the name of the street. If you go to Penn State, you'll know what that is. It's like way off campus. And I remember I would walk from Allen Street to this gym called Lionheart Fitness. Maybe I'll put up a map in this video if I remember, just to show you like the distance. It would take me like 30, sometimes 40 minutes. It depends on like how fast I was walking, depends on the weather. And I say the weather because Penn State gets cold. It gets really cold a lot of the year. And I remember like there were some days, a lot of days, where there was like ice everywhere because it's cold. And it would snow. There's ice everywhere in the morning when you wake up. Even if it didn't like really snow, you know, it's a little bit like wet. So it just freezes up. And where I lived was like down a big hill. So I'm like really struggling. I got my gym bag. I'm like struggling to get up this hill, sliding, kind of getting scared, hoping I don't like break my neck, fall. And I would do this like almost every morning, like literally probably 5 or 6 days a week, just walking up this hill, going to the gym, working out, finishing, coming back another 30, 45 minutes. And then at the time, like I got kicked out of college twice. I would work in the morning at this gas station. It depends on like which specific gear and like my routine, but I worked at a gas station. I worked at a bar as like a dishwasher. I worked, I remember one point I worked as like a manager at a Halloween city. I was all over the place. Had like freelance jobs. I was working at a startup. I was doing a bunch of stuff. So sometimes I hear people say like, oh, I can't do this or I don't have enough time. It's like, you're not making time. That's the issue. Like, you're saying it's too cold outside. You can't go outside to the gym or you can't go outside to do whatever because it's cold. Try walking 45 minutes in the snow or the ice. I'm trying to flex a little bit. But to me, it's one of those things where it's like, when people do stuff that's harder than you, it's hard for your excuses to make sense to them. Does that make sense? Like, I've seen some people when I used to work at a gas station, and this is why I don't like to make excuses, and I don't like to really say I can't do stuff. I've seen some people who had to work at like factories. I remember this one guy, I worked at a gas station. I forget his name. He's a dude that used to come in a lot. And I remember at this time I was trying to be more social. I was trying to like, because I was really like anxious. And working at a gas station, when you're working at the register, the till, people come in and people ask for stuff. It's like a lot of older dudes, construction workers. And so for me, it made me really anxious because like I'm not good at talking to people, and I'm in a position where I have to talk to people a lot. Like there's rush hour, people come in, people are like buying a bunch of food. You got the college students are buying stuff, knocking things off the shelves. So it really forced me to kind of almost come out of my shell a little bit, which is good. It was like good practice in a sense. And I used it as practice. And I remember at one point, this is one guy that would come in. I would see him a lot, and I tried to make a habit of remembering people's names and remembering people's habits. Because people, when they come into like a gas station, especially like a local gas station like that, people do the exact same thing every single day. It's kind of weird when you think about it. People come in, they'll go to the coffee machine every single day. They'll get the exact same coffee every day. They'll come in at the exact same time every day. They'll get the exact same cigarettes every day. So I made it a point, if I saw you coming or if I knew you'd be coming, I'd get like your snacks, I'd get your coffee prepared because I'd make like fresh coffee for them, and I'd let them know like, I just made you coffee, man, I knew you were coming. If I remember some people would come in, they'd come in and get there was like Marlboro, I think it's called like Turkish Royals. I forget it's been a while since I don't know my cigarette brands anymore, but it was like Turkish Royals, something like that. And I remember like the guy would always come in at like 1 p.m. He'd come in at like 10 a.m. and 1:30 p.m., something like that. And he'd smoke like a pack a day. And I'd always like, have at least one set aside for him because we didn't get like a huge inventory. So I'd always kind of set one to the side for him because I knew he'd come like every day and I know he'd want one. Remembered his name, remembered everyone's name if I could. This one dude was like, he's like, you're here all the time. You seem like a smart guy. And well, how come you don't go back to college? And I was like, well, I'm trying to get back to college. I got kicked out. I'm trying to like save some money and just trying to work and stuff like that. And he was like, dude, you got to go back to college. He's like, when I was growing up, I didn't even get the chance to go to college. And he had like 2 or 3 fingers because he worked at a factory and he got his fingers like chopped off. There's a lot of people that would come to the gas station who would be like, dude, you got to go to college because I didn't go and I'm losing. Literally, it was weird. Like a lot of people just were missing fingers because I guess it was like a factory nearby that people worked at near State College. I have no idea where this factory was. I guess it's dangerous. I'm not exaggerating, by the way. There's at least 5 or 6 people I've seen who were missing fingers. Not everyone brought it up, but it's good. This is a good habit in life to try to be attentive. And I would look at people's hands when they talk and you'd see like, 2 or 3 fingers. So it's like, oh, this dude's missing fingers. How'd that happen? But yeah, I bring this up just because you watching this might consider something difficult. I would almost bet that your difficult, like your definition and your view of difficult is not the same as a lot of other people's. There's other people out there who have it way worse than you and would love to trade positions with you. So I feel like if you're in a position where you're up here and a lot of people would want to trade with you, the worst thing you can do is complain about the situation you're in. Does that make sense? It's almost like when you see a rich person and they complain about being rich, you're kind of just like, fuck you, dude. Most people would love to at least have like a fraction of your income and you're complaining about the wealth you have. Shut up. It's that feeling. But a lot of people do it. A lot of people who are like middle class and they have like very comfortable lives will be like, oh, I got to drive to work. It's okay, you have a job. There's people who live in third world countries who would love to have your job. Oh, I got to go to the gym today. You're trying to get me to go to the gym. It's cold. Dude, some people don't have time, literally don't have time to go to the gym because they live in a country where they have to work 24/7 for no money. And if they don't, they might be at risk of dying or something like crazy. That might be an exaggeration. Maybe. I don't know. But hopefully you get the point that I'm making. The idea of complaining or the idea of just like saying you can't do something is so limiting and it's just such a low value mindset to me. Knock it out, cut it out, drop that behavior. And I know it's hard to do. I do it sometimes too, but I try to catch myself and remember these stories and remember just like times where things were tougher and understand that whatever you're complaining about now, it could be worse. And if you complain too much, it will get worse. And then you'll really have something to complain about. So hopefully this makes sense. Hopefully this vlog didn't go on too long. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please like it. Please comment. Please let me know if this takeaway, like what your biggest takeaway was, or if this point made sense to you. And I hope to see you in the next vlog. Peace out. Bye.